Danny Martinez kicked the ball hard across the plaza. His little sister Maria clapped her hands and ran after it, her long black hair flying behind her. The sun was bright on New Haven Colony, and the air smelled like the flowers his mother had planted around their house. "Danny, wait for me," Maria called out, struggling to keep up with her older brother. She was only 8 years old, but she never wanted to miss any of his games. Danny slowed down and smiled at her. "Come on, Maria. We can practice together before Mom calls us for lunch." Above them in space, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his defense station. He was looking at the huge alien ships that had appeared 3 days ago. The ships were black and covered with sharp edges that made them look like giant weapons floating in the dark. "Sir, the Zephyrian commander is calling again," said Lieutenant Tom Brady, his communication officer. Jake nodded. "Put him through." The screen flickered, and Admiral Vexstar appeared. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and yellow eyes that seemed to glow. His voice was cold and sharp like broken glass. "Captain Morrison, your people have 1 hour to surrender. We have shown you our power. Your small ships cannot fight our fleet." Jake stood straight. "Admiral, we've told you before. Humans don't surrender to threats. If you want to talk peace, we can talk. But we won't give up our homes." Vexstar's yellow eyes narrowed. "Your stubbornness will cost you everything. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who refuse the Zephyrian Collective." The screen went dark. Jake turned to his crew. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them the Zephyrians are getting ready to attack." Down on New Haven, Dr. Alex Martinez was working in his laboratory. He was a quiet man with kind eyes who loved his children more than anything in the universe. Few people knew that his real job was much more important than the medical research he did during the day. Alex worked for something called the Prometheus Protocol. It was a secret project that had been built over 30 years. The project had hidden weapons and defense systems all across the galaxy. They were disguised as normal human buildings like hospitals, schools, and trading posts. The idea was simple, but dangerous. If anyone ever threatened human children, the Prometheus Protocol would activate. Every hidden weapon, every secret base, every carefully placed bomb would turn on at the same time. It was designed to end any threat to humanity. In minutes, Alex had helped design the system after humans first met hostile aliens 20 years ago. He hoped they would never need to use it. But as he watched the news reports about the Zephyrian fleet, he kept his hand close to the special communicator that could activate the protocol. On the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Vexstar was talking to his officers. "Begin the broadcast. I want every world in the galaxy to see this. When we destroy this human colony, every species will know that the Zephyrian Collective cannot be stopped." His second in command, Commander Krell, bowed his head. "Sir, our forces are ready. The broadcast equipment is set up. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds will watch." "Good. Today, the galaxy learns that humans are weak. Tomorrow, they will all bow before us." In the plaza, Danny had just scored a goal against Maria when the sky began to darken. Large ships were coming down from space. They were black and scary looking, with weapons that glowed red in the dim light. "Danny, I'm scared," Maria whispered, moving closer to her brother. Danny put his arm around her. "It's okay, Maria. Dad says the bad guys always lose in the end." The first Zephyrian ship landed with a loud crash that shook the ground. The doors opened, and soldiers in heavy armor stepped out. They carried weapons that hummed with energy, and their faces were hidden behind dark masks. People in the plaza began to run, but the soldiers moved fast to surround them. Men, women, and children huddled together in the center of the plaza. Afraid and confused, Commander Krell stepped forward and activated his translator. Humans of New Haven, you are watching history. Today, your species learns its place in the galaxy. You will kneel before the Zephyrian Collective, or you will die. An old man in the crowd stepped forward. We're just farmers and teachers. We don't want to fight anyone. Please let our children go. Krell laughed, a sound like metal scraping against stone. Your children will learn to serve us. That is their future now. Danny felt his heart beating fast. He looked at Maria, who was shaking with fear. He remembered what his father had taught him about being brave, about protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. No, Danny said, his young voice clear in the quiet plaza. All the soldiers turned to look at him. Commander Krell walked over until he was standing right in front of the 12-year-old boy. What did you say, human child? Danny stood up straighter. I said no. You can't hurt these people. They didn't do anything wrong. Behind his mask, Krell smiled. This was perfect. The broadcast was going out to billions of beings across the galaxy. Showing them how easily they could break human spirit would make conquering the rest of the galaxy much easier. You think you can stop us, little boy? Maybe not, Danny said, his voice shaking but still brave. But my dad says that good people always fight back against bullies. Even if they're scared. Maria grabbed his hand. Danny, don't make them angry. It's okay, Maria. Someone has to stand up to them. Across the galaxy, beings on hundreds of worlds were watching the broadcast. In the Galactic Council chambers, alien diplomats leaned forward to see what would happen. On trading stations and military bases, soldiers and civilians stopped their work to watch. And in secret bases hidden throughout Zephyrian space, humans who had been pretending to be merchants and researchers for decades suddenly became very still. They watched their screens and waited. Commander Krell raised his weapon and pointed it at Danny. Your father was wrong, boy. The strong take what they want from the weak. Today, you learned this lesson. Danny. Maria screamed. The energy blast lit up the plaza like lightning. Danny Martinez, 12 years old, fell to the ground and didn't get up. His sister knelt beside him, crying his name over and over. The broadcast continued. Commander Krell wanted everyone to see the boy's body, to understand that humans could be killed, just like anyone else. But something was happening across the galaxy that the Zephyrians didn't notice. On every world where humans lived, people stopped what they were doing. In laboratories and military bases, in space stations and colony ships, humans watched the broadcast and felt something change deep inside them. Dr. Alex Martinez watched his son die on the screen in his laboratory. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then, very slowly, he walked to his desk and opened a drawer. Inside was a small device with a red button. He had hoped he would never have to use it. The device was connected to similar devices all across human space. When he pressed the button, it would send a signal to every person involved in the Prometheus protocol. The signal would be simple. The children are in danger. Activate everything. Alex picked up the device and looked at it. On the screen, his daughter was still crying over her brother's body. The Zephyrian soldiers were laughing. He pressed the button. Across the galaxy, other devices began to beep. In fake trading posts near Zephyrian military bases, humans received the signal. In disguised research stations orbiting Zephyrian worlds, teams of engineers began powering up weapons that had been hidden for decades. The Prometheus protocol was active. In 8 minutes, every Zephyrian military installation in the galaxy would be destroyed. The aliens thought they had shown the universe human weakness. Instead, they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The signal went out at the speed of light. Dr. Alex Martinez stood in his laboratory, holding the small device that had just changed everything. On his screen, he could still see his daughter Maria crying over Danny's body. The Zephyrian soldiers were celebrating thinking they had won some great victory. They had no idea what they had just started. Across the galaxy, humans received the signal on devices they had hoped never to use. These were not normal people. They were soldiers, scientists, and engineers who had spent years pretending to be something else. For decades, they had lived fake lives in enemy territory, waiting for this moment. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes was fixing a water pump on what everyone believed was a simple mining station. The station was only 50 miles from the Zephyrian capital world. Ben had been there for 8 years, pretending to dig for rare metals. The aliens thought he was harmless. His communication device beeped once. Ben looked at the message and felt his heart start beating faster. 3 words appeared on the small screen. Prometheus Protocol active. Ben walked to the equipment shed behind his small house. To anyone watching, it looked like he was getting tools for his work. But Ben typed a code into a hidden panel, and the floor opened up. Below was a room full of weapons and computers that could destroy a planet. "Lucy, wake up," he said to the air. A woman's voice answered him, but there was no woman there. Lucy was an artificial intelligence that had been sleeping in the station's computers for 8 years. "Hello, Ben. I see we have received the activation signal. How long do we have?" Ben looked at his watch. 7 minutes and 30 seconds until full activation. "How long do you need to target all military installations on the capital world?" "I have been scanning and updating target information for 8 years. I can begin firing in 4 minutes." "Do it." 3 star systems away, Commander Lisa Park was teaching alien children how to read human books. She had been working as a teacher on a Zephyrian colony world for 6 years. Everyone loved the kind human woman who helped their children learn. Her device beeped while she was reading a story about friendly animals to a class of young Zephyrians. She looked at the message and quietly stood up. "Children, I need to step outside for a moment. Please keep reading quietly." The alien children nodded and went back to their books. They trusted her completely. Lisa walked to the school's basement, where she kept old teaching supplies. She opened a box marked art materials and pulled out what looked like painting tools. But when she put them together, they became a very different kind of device. She spoke into the device quietly. "This is Commander Park. Prometheus Protocol. Confirmed. Beginning target acquisition for Sector 7. A voice crackled back. "Confirmed, Commander. You have 6 minutes." Lisa had been watching this world for 6 years. She knew where every military base was, where every weapons factory was hidden, where every important Zephyrian lived. She had made maps and taken pictures, always pretending to be interested in the local culture. Now those maps would be used to destroy everything the Zephyrians had built here. On a space station, near the edge of Zephyrian territory, Major Kevin Ross was selling farm equipment to alien merchants. He had been a trader for 12 years, and everyone knew him as a friendly human who always had good deals on Earth. Vegetables and farming tools. Kevin was in the middle of showing a customer some new seeds when his device beeped. He made an excuse and walked to his ship's cargo hold. The cargo hold was full of boxes labeled farming supplies and Earth food. Kevin opened several boxes and began pulling out pieces of metal and electronic equipment. In 3 minutes, he had built a device that could send signals anywhere in the galaxy. "This is Major Ross," he spoke into the device. "Prometheus Protocol active. I can see 17 Zephyrian warships from my position. Requesting permission to engage." "Permission granted, Major. You have 5 minutes before synchronized attack begins." Kevin smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. For 12 years, he had sold food to these aliens while secretly counting their weapons and mapping their defenses. They thought he was just a simple farmer from Earth. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back on New Haven, Captain Jake Morrison was still on his defense station, watching the Zephyrian fleet that surrounded the planet. His communication officer, Lieutenant Tom Brady, suddenly stood up with a shocked look on his face. "Sir, I'm getting signals from all over the galaxy." "It's the Prometheus Protocol." Jake felt his blood turn cold. He had known about the Prometheus Protocol, but he had never expected it to be used. "How long do we have?" 4 minutes and 20 seconds, sir." Jake looked at the Zephyrian ships around his station. Admiral Vexstar was probably still enjoying his broadcast, thinking he had scared the humans into giving up. "Tom, send a message to all human ships and stations in the system. Tell them to get ready for combat. And send a message to the planet. Tell all humans to get to the emergency shelters immediately." "Yes, sir." "Sir, what about the colony?" "What? About the people down there?" Jake's face was hard as stone. "The people who killed that boy are about to learn what happens when you hurt human children." On Earth, General Ray Cooper was in a meeting with other military leaders when his aide rushed into the room. The aide whispered something in his ear, and the general's face went white. "Gentlemen, I need to end this meeting. We have a code-red Prometheus situation." The other officers knew what that meant. Someone had killed human civilians, and now the most powerful weapon system humanity had ever built was about to activate. "General," Cooper walked quickly to his office and opened a safe that required his fingerprint, voice print, and eye scan to open. Inside was a single computer terminal that connected him to every secret human base in the galaxy. He typed in his authorization code and watched as hundreds of green lights appeared on a star map. Each light was a hidden base, a secret weapon, or a disguised military installation. For 30 years, humans had been quietly placing these assets throughout the galaxy, preparing for the day when they might be needed. Today was that day. "This is General Cooper to all Prometheus stations. You are authorized to engage all targets. Repeat, you are authorized to engage all targets. Make them remember this day." Responses came back from across the galaxy. Prometheus Station Alpha, ready to fire. Prometheus Station Beta, targets locked. Prometheus Station Gamma, weapons hot. Prometheus Station Delta, awaiting your order, sir. General Cooper looked at his watch. 2 minutes and 15 seconds remained. He thought about the boy who had died on New Haven. He thought about the child's sister crying over his body. He thought about all the human children living on worlds across the galaxy and how they needed to be protected. All stations, this is General Cooper. Fire when ready. Across the galaxy, humans who had been farmers, teachers, miners, and traders for years suddenly revealed their true purpose. Hidden weapons that had been disguised as harmless equipment began to power up. Space stations that looked like simple trading posts opened up to reveal massive guns. Cargo ships that had been carrying food and supplies deployed weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The Zephyrians had made 2 mistakes. First, they had killed a human child while the galaxy watched. Second, they had done it while thinking humans were weak and helpless. In 1 minute and 30 seconds. They would learn the truth about humanity. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes watched his countdown timer. 30 seconds, Lucy. All targets locked. Ben, orbital defense platforms, military academies, weapons factories, and command centers. When I fire, the Zephyrian capital will be defenseless. Do it. Commander Lisa Park checked her own timer. 20 seconds. Major Kevin Ross aimed his weapons at the Zephyrian warships near his station. 10 seconds. All across the galaxy, humans, who had lived secret lives for decades, prepared to reveal the truth. They had not been hiding because they were afraid. They had been hiding because they were preparing. The countdown reached 0. The galaxy was about to change forever. The first shot came from Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes. His mining station which had looked harmless for 8 years, suddenly split open like a flower. Hidden weapons rose up from underground chambers. The artificial intelligence named Lucy had been calculating targets for years, and now she fired with perfect accuracy. The Zephyrian capital world had 12 military bases. In the first 10 seconds, all 12 bases simply disappeared. They didn't explode or burn. They just weren't there anymore. "What kind of weapons are these?" Ben asked Lucy as he watched the destruction on his screens. "Dr. Patricia Wells designed them before you were born," Lucy replied in her calm voice. "They use quantum entanglement to erase matter from existence. The targets don't just die, they never existed at all." Ben watched as the Zephyrian orbital defense platforms began to fire at his station. Their energy beams hit his shields and bounced off harmlessly. "Lucy, how long can our shields hold?" "Forever, Ben. We've been stealing power from their own energy grid for 8 years. They're actually powering the weapons that are destroying them." 3 star systems away, Commander Lisa Park's school was also changing. The basement where she kept her teaching supplies opened up to reveal a factory that had been building weapons for 6 years. Robots that had been hidden under the school began to come out, carrying guns and bombs. "Computer, target all military installations on this world," Lisa said calmly. "Acknowledged, Commander. I count 47 targets. Estimated time to complete destruction, 6 minutes." Lisa had been teaching Zephyrian children for 6 years. She had learned their language, eaten their food, and helped them with their homework. But she had also been mapping every important building on their world. The first target was the Planetary Defense Center. Lisa's hidden weapons fired a single shot, and the building vanished. The Zephyrians inside didn't even have time to send a warning signal. The second target was the military academy, where young Zephyrians learned to be soldiers. Another shot, another building gone. Lisa felt no pleasure in the destruction, but she felt no sadness either. These were the people who had cheered when Danny Martinez died. Now they would learn what happened to those who hurt human children. Major Kevin Ross was having more fun. His cargo ship had revealed massive guns that were now firing at the 17 Zephyrian warships near his position. The alien ships were trying to fight back, but their weapons couldn't even scratch his shields. "This is Major Ross to all Zephyrian ships," he broadcast on their communication frequency. "You made a mistake today. You killed a human child while we were watching." The Zephyrian fleet commander responded angrily. "Human, you are one ship against 17. Surrender now, and we might let you live." Kevin laughed. "Sir, I think you misunderstood something. I'm not trapped here with you. You're trapped here with me." His ship fired again. 3 Zephyrian warships exploded at the same time. The remaining 14 ships tried to run, but Kevin's weapons were faster. "Computer, don't let any of them escape. The galaxy needs to see what happens to child killers." "Understood, Major. No enemy ships will leave this system." Back on New Haven, Captain Jake Morrison was watching Admiral Vexstar's flagship with great interest. The alien commander was still broadcasting his victory to the galaxy, not knowing that his entire empire was being destroyed. "Sir," Lieutenant Tom Brady called out, "we're getting reports from across Zephyrian space. Every single military installation is under attack. The enemy is losing everything." Jake nodded. "Tom, open a channel to Admiral Vexstar." "Channel open." "Sir, Admiral Vexstar, this is Captain Morrison. You wanted to show the galaxy how weak humans are. How's that working out for you?" On his screen, Jake could see confusion in the alien's yellow eyes. "What are you talking about, human?" "Check your military reports, Admiral. See how many of your bases are still responding." Vexstar turned to his officers and barked orders in his own language. Jake watched the alien's face change as he received the reports. Confusion became shock, then fear, then pure terror. "This is impossible," Vextar whispered. "We have thousands of military bases across hundreds of worlds. You cannot destroy them." "All. We're not destroying them all, Admiral. We already did. Your empire ended 8 minutes ago. You just didn't know it yet." Dr. Alex Martinez was still in his laboratory, watching the destruction through his computer networks. Every hidden human base was reporting successful strikes. 30 years of preparation were paying off in the most devastating military campaign. In galactic history, his communication device beeped. It was General Cooper calling from Earth. "Alex, I'm sorry about your boy. He was a brave kid." Alex's voice was steady, but his eyes were full of tears. "Thank you, General. Is it working?" "Better than we ever imagined. The Zephyrian military doesn't exist anymore. Their fleets are destroyed, their bases are gone, their command structure is in ruins. But Alex, the whole galaxy is watching this. They're seeing what humans can do when we're angry." Alex looked at his screen, where his daughter Maria was still, sitting next to her brother's body. "Good. Let them see. Let them all know what happens when you hurt our children." On the Galactic Council station, alien diplomats were watching the broadcasts in stunned silence. Species that had known humans for 30 years were realizing they had never really known them at all. The Krillian ambassador, a large creature with 4 arms and green skin, spoke first. "How long have the humans been preparing for this?" The Nexus Federation representative, a being made of living crystal, replied in a shaking voice. "Our intelligence reports show human trading posts and research stations throughout our territory too. If they have weapons hidden there as well, then every military species in the galaxy is helpless," finished the Void Hunter delegate, whose red eyes now showed fear instead of the usual anger. The Council's emergency session was interrupted by a new broadcast. This one wasn't coming from the Zephyrians. It was coming from Earth. General Cooper appeared on screens across the galaxy. Behind him stood the flags of every human world, and his face was serious but calm. "People of the galaxy," he began, "today you witnessed the murder of a human child. His name was Danny Martinez. He was 12 years old. He died protecting his sister and defending innocent people." The general paused, letting his words sink in across hundreds of worlds. "For 30 years, humans have been preparing for this day. We hoped it would never come. We hoped that rational beings could share this galaxy in peace. But today we learned that some species only understand force." Behind the general, a star map appeared showing the Zephyrian Empire. As they watched, red dots began disappearing from the map. Each dot was a military base or weapons facility. The Zephyrian Collective no longer exists as a military power. Their fleets are destroyed. Their armies are scattered. Their weapons are silent. This was accomplished in exactly 8 minutes and 37 seconds. Gasps could be heard from alien diplomats watching the broadcast. "Let me be clear about something," General Cooper continued. "We did not do this because we enjoy violence. We did this because a child died while the galaxy watched. Every species in this galaxy now knows what humans will do to protect innocent life." The star map changed, now showing the entire galaxy. Small green dots appeared near every major alien civilization. You will notice green markers near your worlds. These represent human installations that have been hidden in your space for decades. They are not weapons pointed at you. They are weapons pointed at anyone who would threaten peace in this galaxy. Admiral Vextar was still on his flagship, but now he looked like a broken creature. His proud fleet was burning around him, and reports kept coming in of destroyed bases and defeated armies. "How?" he whispered to Captain Narration. "How did you hide so many weapons? How did we not see them?" Jake's voice was cold. "Because you saw what you expected to see. Harmless human. Traders and researchers. You never imagined that the farmer selling you food was counting your weapons, or that the teacher helping your children was mapping your defenses. But why? Why hide for so long? Because we hoped we'd never need to use them. But you killed a child admiral. You killed Danny Martinez while his sister watched. Now the whole galaxy knows what that costs. The Zephyrian Empire, which had controlled hundreds of worlds for 1,000 years, was gone. In its place was empty space, and the promise that no one would ever again watch a human child die without consequences. The galaxy had learned a new rule. Humanity's children were protected by the most powerful military force in known space, and that force would never hesitate to act. 3 days after Danny Martinez died, the galaxy was a very different place. The news of the Zephyrian Empire's complete destruction had spread to every world, every space station, and every ship in known space. Beings who had never heard of humans before were now studying everything they could find about the species that had ended a 1,000-year empire in 8 minutes. On the Galactic Council Station, emergency meetings had been going on without stop. Ambassador after ambassador stood up to speak, and all of them were asking the same question. What did humans really want? The Krillian ambassador, whose people had been planning to expand into human space next year, was the first to speak. His forearm shook as he talked. Council members, we must face the truth. Humans have been watching us for decades. They know our military strength, our trade routes, our weaknesses. They could destroy any of us just as easily as they destroyed the Zephyrians. The Nexus Federation representative, made of living crystal that now seemed very dim, agreed. Our intelligence services found 17 human research stations in our territory yesterday. 17. We thought they were studying our culture. Now we know they were studying our defenses. Murmurs of fear rippled through the council chamber. Every species was discovering that humans had been much closer than they thought. The Void Hunter delegate, whose red eyes usually showed nothing but anger, now looked worried. The question is, what do we do now? Do we attack before they can? Attack us? Do we surrender and hope they are merciful? Before anyone could answer, the chamber doors opened. A human woman walked in, flanked by 2 human guards. She was tall and confident, with short brown hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. Honorable council members, she said in a clear voice, my name is Dr. Elena Carter. I am here to speak for humanity. The chamber fell silent. This was the first time a human had ever addressed the full Galactic Council. Dr. Carter walked to the center of the chamber and looked around at all the alien faces watching her. Some looked afraid, some looked angry, but all of them looked very interested in what she had to say. 3 days ago, soldiers of the Zephyrian Collective murdered a human child named Danny Martinez. They did this while broadcasting to the entire galaxy, thinking it would show human weakness. Instead, it revealed something else entirely. She paused and activated a holographic display. It showed the galaxy with thousands of green dots scattered across it. For 30 years, humans have been preparing for the day when our children might be threatened. We built the Prometheus Protocol, not because we wanted to conquer anyone, but because we learned that in this galaxy, peace only exists when those who would harm innocents know there will be consequences. The Krillian ambassador stood up. Dr. Carter, your people have been spying on us for decades. You have hidden weapons in our space without permission. How can we trust anything you say? Elena looked at him calmly. Ambassador, how many Krillian children has humanity ever harmed? Well, none. But how many Krillian worlds have we invaded? None, but you could. How many Krillian ships have we destroyed? The ambassador sat down slowly. None, exactly. In 30 years of contact with your species and others, humans have never started a war, never invaded a world that didn't belong to us, and never harmed civilians. The only violence we have ever used was against those who threatened innocent life. Dr. Carter turned to address the entire council. The Prometheus Protocol was not built to conquer. It was built to protect. Every hidden installation, every disguised weapon, every secret base exists for one purpose: to ensure that what happened to Danny Martinez never happens again. The Void Hunter delegate leaned forward. But you could use those weapons against us any time you wanted. How do we know you won't? Because, Elena said simply, you're not child killers. The Zephyrians were. She activated another display, this one showing footage from the attack on New Haven. The council members watched Danny Martinez stand up to Commander Krell, saw him try to protect his sister, saw him die while the galaxy watched. This boy was 12 years old. He could have run away, could have hidden, could have saved himself. Instead, he stood up to soldiers with weapons because he thought it was wrong to hurt innocent people. That is what humanity will always defend. The chamber was completely quiet now. Even the Void Hunter delegate, whose people were known for their violence, seemed affected by the footage. Elena continued. The galaxy has seen what happens when someone harms human children. But let me tell you what happens when someone protects them. The display changed again, now showing ships with human and alien crews working together. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes, who destroyed the Zephyrian capital defenses, is now working with former Zephyrian colonies to build new governments. Commander Lisa Park, who eliminated their military academies, is helping alien children who lost their families in Zephyrian wars. Major Kevin Ross, who destroyed their fleet, is delivering food and medicine to worlds the Zephyrians had oppressed. The council members looked surprised. They had expected the humans to rule over the conquered territories like any other empire. Dr. Carter, the Nexus Federation representative, said, "Are you saying that humans don't want to control former Zephyrian space? We want to make sure it never again becomes a source of threat to innocent life. Beyond that, every world should choose its own future." The Krillian ambassador stood up again, but this time he looked thoughtful instead of afraid. "What about the weapons hidden in our space? Will you remove them?" Elena smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. "Ambassador, those installations will remain exactly where they are, but they will never be used against your people unless your people choose to harm innocents. They are not pointed at you. They are pointed at anyone who might threaten you." "I don't understand." "The Prometheus Protocol doesn't just protect human children, Ambassador. It protects all children. If someone invaded your worlds and started killing Krillian families, those same hidden weapons would defend your people." The impact of her words hit the council like a shock wave. The humans weren't planning to rule the galaxy. They were planning to protect it. The Void Hunter delegate, whose people had been raiders and pirates for centuries, spoke carefully. "What if ... what if some species don't want your protection?" Elena's expression became serious. "Then they are free to leave the protected zones. But they may not use that freedom to harm others. The galaxy has seen what happens to those who choose that path." Meanwhile, on Earth, General Ray Cooper was meeting with human military leaders from across the galaxy. The room was full of people who had lived secret lives for decades, and now they were planning the future. "The Prometheus Protocol worked better than we ever imagined," General Cooper said. "But now we need to decide what comes next." Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes, participating by video link from the former Zephyrian capital, spoke first. "Sir, the alien populations in former Zephyrian space are scared but grateful. Most of them hated the Zephyrians but were too afraid to resist. They're asking for help building new governments." Commander Lisa Park, also on video from her world, added, "The children here don't understand what happened. They just know the soldiers who scared them are gone. But their parents are asking questions about human intentions. General Cooper nodded. The galaxy is watching everything we do now. Every action we take will shape how other species see us for generations. We need to show them that humans can be trusted with power. Major Kevin Ross appeared on another screen. General, I've been talking with representatives from a dozen different species. They all want to know the same thing. Are we going to become the new Zephyrians? What did you tell them? I told them to watch what we do, not what we say. Actions prove intentions better than words. General Cooper looked around the room at his officers. That's exactly right. The galaxy will judge us by our actions. So let's make sure our actions prove that humanity deserves the responsibility we've taken on. He activated a star map showing the galaxy. Green dots marked human positions, but now they looked different than before. Instead of hidden threats, they looked like guardian angels watching over vulnerable worlds. From this day forward, the Prometheus Protocol has a new mission. We will not just protect human children. We will protect all children. We will not just defend human worlds. We will defend any world that chooses peace over violence. The officers in the room stood up. They had spent 30 years preparing for war, and now they were being asked to prepare for peace. But as they looked at the star map, they realized that sometimes the best way to create peace was to make sure. Everyone knew that violence against innocents would never be tolerated. The galaxy was learning a new truth. Humanity had become its protector, not its conqueror. 6 months had passed since Danny Martinez died. The galaxy was still getting used to the changes. Where once there had been the mighty Zephyrian Empire, now there were dozens of small, peaceful worlds learning how to govern themselves. Where once there had been fear of alien raiders and military expansion, now there was something new hope. On New Haven Colony, Maria Martinez walked slowly to the memorial that had been built for her brother. It was a simple stone with his name, and the words, "He stood up for what was right." Around the memorial, flowers from 100 different worlds grew in the soil where Danny had fallen. Maria was not alone. Beings from across the galaxy came to see the place where everything changed. They came to understand what one brave boy had meant to the universe. "Hello, Danny," Maria whispered to the stone. "I brought you letters today. They're from children. On other worlds, they want to say thank you." She pulled out a small bag full of papers written in dozens of different languages. Children from species she had never heard of had sent messages to her brother's memorial. One letter was from a young Krillian girl whose family had been saved when human ships stopped raiders from attacking their trading convoy. Another was from Nexus Federation children whose school had been protected when local criminals tried to take them hostage. Every letter said the same thing in different ways. "Thank you for making the galaxy safe for us." Maria read each letter aloud to her brothers. Memorial. Just like she did every week. Captain Jake Morrison was now Admiral Jake Morrison, commander of the new Galactic Peace Fleet. His ships patrolled the space that had once belonged to the Zephyrians. But they were not conquest ships. They were protection ships, crewed by humans and aliens working together. "Admiral," his communication officer called out, "we're getting a distress signal from the Tau sector. Pirates are attacking a refugee convoy." Jake stood up immediately. "How many ships do they have?" "Looks like 6 raider vessels, sir." "The convoy only has 2 escort ships. Set course for Tau sector, maximum speed. Send word to the nearest human installations. Tell them we need backup." As his ship jumped to light speed, Jake thought about how different things were now. 6 months ago, refugee convoys were attacked all the time, and nobody helped them. Now, any threat to innocent people brought the full power of humanity's hidden network to bear. The pirates in the Tau sector were about to learn what the Zephyrians had learned, that there were consequences for hurting the innocent. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes was having a very different day. He was sitting in a garden on the former Zephyrian capital world, teaching alien children how to plant earth vegetables. The children came from a dozen different species, all refugees whose families had been freed when the Zephyrian Empire fell. Mr. Ben, a small Krillian girl, asked, "Why do humans help us? We're not your people." Ben smiled and handed her a small seed. "Because all children are our people, Zara. When you're old enough to have children of your own, you'll understand." The garden where they worked had been built on the ruins of a Zephyrian military academy. Where once young aliens had been trained to conquer and kill, now children from many worlds learned to grow food and take care of each other. Commander Lisa Park was running a school on her world, but now it was very different from before. Instead of pretending to be just a teacher, she was helping to build the first multi-species university in the galaxy. Students from dozens of worlds came to learn not just reading and math, but how different species could work together. "Today we're going to talk about the Prometheus Doctrine," she told her class, which included young humans, Krillians, Nexus beings, and even some former Zephyrians. A teenage Zephyrian student raised his hand. "Teacher Park, my father says humans are dangerous. He says you destroyed our empire because you wanted to rule us." Lisa looked at the young alien thoughtfully. "What do you think, Hex? Do you feel ruled by humans?" The student looked around the classroom at his friends from other worlds. "No, teacher. I feel safe." "Why do you feel safe?" "Because I know that if someone tried to hurt me or my friends, the humans would stop them. Just like they stopped the soldiers who hurt Danny Martinez." Lisa nodded. "That's the Prometheus Doctrine, Kex. Power exists to protect the innocent, not to control them." Major Kevin Ross had become something he never expected, a diplomat. His cargo ship, which had once been disguised as a simple trader, now openly carried the banner of the Galactic Peace Alliance. He traveled from world to world, helping different species work out their problems without fighting. Today, he was on a mining world where two species were arguing over who owned the mineral rights. In the old days, this kind of dispute led to wars that could last for decades. "The way I see it," Kevin told the leaders of both groups, "you both need these minerals, and there's enough for everyone. The question is, do you want to fight over them and risk having pirates steal everything while you're busy fighting? Or do you want to work together and be protected by the Peace Alliance?" The leader of the first group, a large rock-like being, grumbled, "What if we choose to fight? Will humans attack us?" Kevin smiled. "Humans will only get involved if you start hurting civilians. You want to have a nice, clean military conflict with rules and honor? Go ahead. But the moment someone targets schools or hospitals or refugee camps, we'll stop you. And you've seen how we stop people." Both leaders decided very quickly that cooperation was a better idea than fighting. Dr. Elena Carter was now the human ambassador to the Galactic Council, and she was giving her monthly report on the state of the galaxy. "Council members, I'm pleased to report that violent conflicts are down by 80% compared to this time last year. Piracy attacks have decreased by 90%. Child mortality rates from war and violence have dropped to the lowest levels in recorded galactic history." The Krillian ambassador, who had once feared humanity, now seemed much more relaxed. "Ambassador Carter, how do you explain these improvements?" "It's simple, Ambassador. For the first time in galactic history, those who would harm innocents know that there will be immediate and overwhelming consequences. The Prometheus Protocol doesn't prevent all violence. It prevents violence against those who cannot defend themselves." The Void Hunter delegate, whose people had once been raiders, asked, "What about species that want to expand their territory?" "What about natural conflicts over resources?" Galena smiled. "Species are free to compete, expand, and even fight each other, as long as they follow the rules of civilized warfare. No targeting civilians, no enslaving populations, no killing children." Beyond that, we don't interfere. The Nexus Federation representative had a question. But what happens when humanity is gone? What happens to the galaxy when your people are no longer there to protect it? That's the best part, Elena replied. We're not trying to be the galaxy's permanent police force. We're trying to teach the galaxy to police itself. Every world that chooses peace over violence, every species that decides to protect rather than conquer, makes our job easier. She activated a display showing the growth of the Galactic Peace Alliance. Dozens of species had joined, promising to defend innocent life anywhere in the galaxy. Eventually, we hope the Prometheus Protocol won't be necessary. But until that day comes, it will remain active, watching, and ready to act. Dr. Alex Martinez had returned to his medical research, but now he worked on projects that helped all species instead of just humans. His laboratory on New Haven had become a center for developing treatments for diseases that affected multiple alien races. Every day, he walked past the memorial to his son. Every day, he remembered the boy who had stood up to armed soldiers because he thought it was the right thing to do. But now, when Alex looked at that memorial, he also saw the children from other worlds who came to visit it. He saw young beings who would grow up in a galaxy where bullies were stopped, where the innocent were protected, where one person's courage could change everything. Danny, he said quietly one evening as he sat by the memorial, I think you'd like what the galaxy has become. It's the kind of place where kids like you can be brave without having to die for it. As the sun set on New Haven, similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. On hundreds of worlds and thousands of schools, children of many species were learning about the boy who had stood up to an empire, and the people who had made sure his death meant something. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson, but it was a good lesson. Evil could be stopped if good people were willing to act. Innocence could be protected if the strong chose to use their strength wisely. And sometimes, the bravest thing one person could do was simply refuse to let wrong things happen while they watched. Danny Martinez had been 12 years old when he died. But his courage had given birth to a new kind of galaxy, one where children could play safely under the protection of those who remembered what it meant to stand up for what was right. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, and in their light, the future looked full of hope.